Hi, guys. Anyhow, so I am here. Yeah, I don't know. The video don't look so clear, right? I don't know. Anyhow, so guys, I'm here tonight again. Yes, I am here. This is your girl, Shireen. guys, guys, please remember to share my video and subscribe to my channel, guys. So, as you can see, the topic for tonight is Is it my workplace toxic or is it me? I know that tonight is Friday night, and if all week you can't wait until Friday come so that you have these 2 days off from work, sometimes this is an indication that we are in the wrong job or our environment in which we work in is very toxic, right? Because guys, there is a lot of when you go out and try to work with people, it's very hard because we're from different areas, different places. We have different culture and we behave differently. We have different body language. We have everything that is different, especially if you're an immigrant like me going into a workforce. So, when you find yourself as an immigrant going to a workforce and you realize that the environment is toxic, there is questions you have to ask yourself. You have to ask yourself if you want to be there, right? Some of us, we know that the environment is toxic, but we just can't just leave our job like that, right? You're not going to leave your job. Are you going to just leave your job if you find that your workplace is toxic? No, you're not. I have some notes here, guys, that I will be looking at, right? What is the definition of when you're in an environment, you're in a workplace and harassment is taking place or it is toxic? Let us just talk about harassment for a while here. Workplace harassment is defined as a single or repeated incident of a objectable or unwelcome conduct, comments, bullying, or action intended to intimidate, to offend, or degrade or humiliate a person or group. So if you're experiencing any of those, it is not right, right? In our workplace, and you realize that people are trying to intimidate you, you realize that people are trying to make you feel degraded, less than, right? They humiliate you, right? Or they remind you that you are from a certain ethnicity or you're from a certain group. It is inappropriate and it is harassment. Nevertheless, harassment is hard to prove, right? It is hard to prove, especially if the person is doing microaggression. And when I said microaggression, it means they're just little subtle little hints at you. They're taking jabs at you. Only you alone know it is jabs, right? And they are very smart when it comes on to doing the microaggression. When this starts to happen, when you're in a workplace and all this kind of dirty behavior start to happen, you have to know what to do, right? What you need to do is that you need to start write down any little any little incident that took place between you and that individual, right? It could be a manager or it could be a co-worker, right? Because you have some managers who, for some reason, they don't like you. And not everybody is gonna like you. You're gonna have people who don't like you, and that is okay, right? Because I'm sure you have somebody who you don't like either. Also, I want to note here is that before you think that they are the problem, you need to check yourself first. Okay? Because some of us, we show up at work late, we're not consistent, we don't do the people work, we don't do anything productive like to take initiative, or we're not meeting expectation, and then yet we say them a harass you. No lie, them not harass you if you know you are not, if you know you're doing those things, right? So you need to make sure you go in on time, leave on time, take your lunch on time, right? And do what you're told. It's not your show. You're not running the show. Somebody else running the show, right? Because someone want to be boss and is not boss. I'm not lying. It's true. Some of you want to be boss and you're not boss. Listen. So if you're in an environment and you see that it is toxic, what you're going to start to do, you're going to check yourself first. When you check yourself, you realize, okay, I am not doing anything wrong. I'm not provoking the situation, and this individual is provoking me, right? When the person start to provoke you, right? You can't what you have to do, you have to be strategic. You start to, you know, watch your body language and watch how you respond to that person. If you're communicating by email, make sure you don't use you statement, you use I statement. Right? Don't accuse anybody of anything. Just say I feel or I thought. Or if the person says something derogatory to you, you can say to the person, can you please clarify? Or can you please say, why did you say that? Let them dig themselves in a hole. You don't dig yourself in a hole, because it's right. You know, right? You use I statement, and you take out word like you should, some strong word, or no. If the person, if your boss asks you to do something, you don't say no. You can simply say, you're busy and you're working on another project, and you will, if you see that the person will pressure you, and you know that job is not yours, and she taking another person's job and give to you, you can, say things like, um, yes, I gladly do it, but I'm presently working on XXXXX, and as soon as I am finished or something like that, I'll get to it, or something to that effect, right? Something to don't just say no, right? You have to be smart. You have to be very smart, because when these people ready to take set on you, there's nothing you can do. You cannot do anything, because they are like a ticks, right? You know what a tick is? Right. So when you notice that you're getting unfair treatment in the workplace, or you're being harassed in the workplace, right? These things are hard to prove, right? Because sometimes these people put subtle little jams at you, like it's called microaggression, and behave with you in a certain way. You can't prove it, or you're going to prove it, right? So what you're going to do, you're going to start taking notes. Yes, you're going to start taking notes. You're going to communicate through email, so that there is a trail, right? And then you are going to start to, with those emails, you're going to start to put them in order, right? Make a little folder and put them in order. And when you make the folder and put them in order, you start to label them and say, okay, the incident happened January the 5th and blah blah whatnot, not to put them into, right? And if something is rude in there, you can underline it in red and say the person was rude to you and this is how you felt and whatnot. Not, you need to keep thorough notes, right? You detail it, and if it get out of hand and you see that it is not stopping, you can do a formal complaint. You can go to that person manager, or you speak to HR, right? Your HR is always there, even though HR is for the company. Remember, they are for the company best interest. They are not really they are for the employee, but remember the bottom line is HR is for the employer. best interest, the company best interest. Now, you tell HR, you make a formal complaint, you have all your story, you have incident written down that you can tell them. You can't just go to them and tell them something is happening in the workplace and you don't have incident. You have to have incident, you have to have proof, right? You have to have written document stating, you have to look at the microaggression behavior, right? You jot it down. And there are certain things that you look for. You look for repetitions in behavior, right? How you going to improve it? Repetition in behavior. Like something consistent. Like it has to be severe enough before you can go and talk about things. Intentional hostile behavior, right? And the behavior has to be abusive in nature. So, what am I saying? Take thorough notes. Go to HR, right? Make sure you go to HR and tell them what is happening. You write it down. And if HR tell you what to do, right, you follow the instruction clearly. And then after that, Bob is your uncle. But to be real honest, sometimes when you're in a workplace and you have problem with either the boss or the employee, there sometimes it's nothing you can do. You know, if you have problem with the employee, you can probably talk about it and get to the point, and then you and that person don't have to deal or them take you off of a project if you're working with that people. But when you have a boss who is rude and who is targeting you, boy, may I tell you, the best thing to do is go find yourself a new job. That is the best thing to do, because usually the company, they're going to ask who is more valuable. Is either the boss is more valuable or you? You think you is more valuable, they're going to see you as more valuable? No. And I know it's hard to say you're going to it's hard for you to say that you're going to find a new job, because it's not all of us are going to find job right away. It's hard to find a job, especially if you have a good job, right? And especially if you're there before this employer, right? And then all of a sudden this employer come and make your life a living hell, right? All I'm going to say is that if you can find a job, you find a job, or you just close your mouth, right? You write down all these things, take detailed notes, right? And make sure that that individual don't push you out of your job, and do what you're told, making sure that you're meeting all expectation, making sure that you're taking initiatives in your job, making sure that you're thorough, making sure that you're detailed in the job, because you have this person on your back. It's like a monkey on your back, guys. Yeah, monkey up on your back, right? Monkey's on your back, so you have to do all these things. But then I know how it feel when you're in a workplace that it is toxic. When you're in a toxic environment, it is not nice. It is not good, right? And I'm going to explain to you what a toxic environment is. Now, or a toxic culture, people might say. If you're in a culture, that is a norm for them to treat them staff like that, right? Like, for example, if you are, some of them treat you, they want you to know that they are the boss at all time, because it gives them power, and they have a power struggle all the time with you. It's an interpersonal norm for them, how them treat each other, right? Common perspective. These people have common perspective with the and the same commitment with the organization. So that is why the environment is toxic, right? And sometimes it's only just one person make that environment toxic, and sometimes it's more than one person, because that's the norm there. When you're in a workplace environment and you go there, sometimes we go there, we leave a good job, and we go somewhere else, and that environment is so toxic that we become stressed and ill and sick. And because of that, guys, it will kill you. It would definitely kill you. So that is why you have to take care of yourself when you're in a situation like that. Right? Because if you find that you're less productive too, because If you're in an environment that is not so toxic, that is toxic, right? What is going to happen if the environment is toxic? Be honest. You're not going to want to do nothing for them. No, you're going to give less. You're going to give them less. When you're in a toxic environment, you suffer. You suffer from stress, anxiety, depression, right? But the employer also suffer too because them have more turnover and it costs the company more. So it's not only you alone a lose, them a lose too. And then the employer have difficulty attracting proper people there, people with skill or people with the right amount of talent. Them have a lot of absenteeism because of them toxic environment, lower productivity, and sometimes they end up in legal action against them. So it's not only them alone suffer. So think about it. They are suffering. They will be suffering in the long run if them don't change the way they do business or they change the way they treat people. But nevertheless, them don't care. Them not care, them not see it, them not see the long-term effect on this behaving, treating people like that. Right? When you're in a workplace and them not treating you good, there is no trust. You not gonna have no trust for the employer. And there's no trust between the employer and the employee. You feel undervalued. When I say undervalued, you feel like nothing that you do is going to help them anyways or make them better. Or you feel like nothing that you do is making a difference. You feel like you can't do nothing right. Right? That is when you're in a toxic environment. Not what you do, it's right. There's no boundary in your job. Right? You have your work and everybody come gear this, gear that. You have no autonomy, you have no boundary. You can't make any decision in your job because the employer take that away from you. That's what they do. They take that away from you and make you feel undervalued, right? You don't have no autonomy. You can't make any decision in your own jobs. Every time you make a mistake, them down upon you. You send out an email, you miss a E, and them down on you. You forget to do something, them down on you. Any little thing they are there rushing. But you see the mistake in a there. And you see them make mistake every day. But it's okay when they make the mistake. But it's not okay when you make the mistake. So you have to understand that. So you have to be, that's why I said you have to be very careful. Because if you're not ready for lose your job yet, you have to be very careful. People treat each other in the workplace with contempt. Those are signs that you have a toxic environment. Unhealthy interpersonal relationship. Yes, guys. The relationship between each other, it's horrible. Them not speak to you with respect and feel uplifted. Every day you go in, it just dragged. One time I work in this department because some of us, we need to know what we're putting ourselves in. And you have to assess the department or any area that you work into. You have to. How are you going to assess it? When you go there, you realize what you get yourself into. That is why at the interview, you need to ask them about as much as possible and see who you're going to work for. Because some of these people are people from hell. You put yourself into something, you leave a job that pays less and go into a job that pays more, but your stress level is so high and you start to get sick and you can't wait until Friday. You love Friday just for that reason. And you can't live your life like that because life is short. Every year, every day, 5 days a week, you're going to go to work and you just stress, right? You just stress. And sometimes when people are treating you horribly in the workplace, it never stops. Even when you take notes, even when you go see their boss, even when you ask for them to stop, even when you put your foot forward and want to make sure that the relationship between you and that individual grow, or you can never please that person. When somebody is against you, there's nothing you can do. Might as well you go find another job, as I said. But we know that we can't just get up out of a job and just leave, right? You can't. Toxic environment is that the employer don't support you. You do one program, you do one course, them don't even support you. Them have a job, come up in them organization or come up in them department, and them not even recommend you. You're there working for them, and them have a job, you qualify for the job, and them not giving you the job. Right? What them going to tell you? They're going to tell you, even if you have the qualification for the job, but you don't have the experience, they're not willing to train you, to put you into the job, seeing that you work for their department. That means there is no growth. There's no upward mobility there. You have to leave in order to grow. That is where you know there's toxic environment. Yeah. Right? You get me? Living out, you're working for a company. You went out and you do a PhD, or you do a master, or you do a degree. Your managers, everybody know, and them have a job come up and them don't use you. What I tell you? Them either don't like you, or them not think you're good enough for the job. Because you have to understand, sometimes, and I'm going to speak this, sometimes when you have like people of color working into the labor force, when you have people of color like me, Black people and brown people, or, I would say it wouldn't just only people of color, like you're from a different, you're in an area where the predominant language is English, right? Just like I'm in Canada, the predominant is, and you come from, say you come from Japan or China or whatever, you have an accent or something like that. Now you come, them want them a look, if them looking on your resume and making sure that you fit both qualification, you fit the experience, and you also have the qualification, the education. While if you're from here, they probably, you graduate from University of Calgary or somewhere in that area, they would give you the job. And right out of university, I've seen it. Right out of university, they have given people job, like young people the job, and people in the department sit there for years and don't get any promotion, and them know them have schooling and they don't give them either. So those are things to look out for. Leave. They don't want you there. Somebody will like you and somebody will want you. Okay? If you throw enough sun on, if you throw enough, because if when you're building blocks in Jamaica, and you have the cement and the mortar mixed, and if you throw a lot of that on the brick, some will stick. Some of it will fall on the ground, and then the masoner, would take it up and wipe it on the ground. Well, if you do enough, if you throw enough, it will stick. So guess what? Get out your resume, make your resume nice and pretty, and something will show up. And pray to God. Pray to the supreme, the being. Did I say that right? Right. Right? And another thing you must look out for is if them blame you. Every time something go wrong in the department, them blame you. And every time, and another thing too, they make example out of you. Like the rules is different for you than anybody else. That is no, in a toxic environment. The rules are different from you, for anybody else. Yes, the rule is totally different. All of a sudden, them give you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rules, And last week before, there wasn't any rules. But once you do it, the rule changes. Once something happen or something out of the norm happen, right? It changes. The rule changes. Like them say, oh no, you can't do this, blah, 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 what not. Yeah. And so you have to look out for those things. I can't tell you what rule changes, but you know, because you have the situation and you're seeing the situation. And that is what you know, that it is unhealthy, right? Unhealthy. Go find a different job if you can. I mean, you can't just leave your job, but just take back your time, take back your life, go find another job. How you gonna do this? Yeah, you have to just try take it back. There's nothing you're gonna do. How you gonna take it back? As me say, you get a pen and paper, find a job, right? You name the problem. You look and you see what the problem is, and you need to know within yourself if you can actually live with that. Live with somebody that breathe down your back. Right? And you know what too? It affect your family at home. Anytime at all you have workplace drama, you come home, you tell your spouse, and it affect them. It affect your kids because you're not going to be in a good mood. Is that how you want to live? I'm sure that is not how you want to live. That is not how you want to live. You want to make sure that you're in an environment that foster positiveness and that is supportive, and the work environment is calm and peaceful, and you feel so good. You know, when you go to work, you feel like you're, I mean, you're not going to, your work colleague aren't going to be bosom buddy, right? But at least you can communicate with them and don't feel disrespected, right? You can communicate with them, you don't feel disrespected. And that is what you're aiming for, right? So as I said, I'm going to end the video shortly. You have to ask yourself, how do I deal with a situation when I encounter toxic behavior? How are you going to deal with it? That's what you're going to say. Because what you're going to do, you're going to try to prepare yourself. How are you going to deal with it? Because you know it coming. Because if you're dealing with some asshole boss, you know they're going to come at you. So what you're going to do, you're going to have to prepare your mental state at all time. How am I going to deal with somebody when they come to me? You can choose to just leave it alone. I know it becomes so overbearing. It becomes so toxic and make you feel so stressed that you just want one day it's going to just blow that button, like the balloon just burst, boom, and there it goes. You don't want to wait to that. See somebody, go see a counselor, tap into the resources the employer has. You need to ask yourself what role you can do to shift the behavior or shift the situation. From what can you do to shift that, right? So every time that person comes at you, how can you shift it, make it positive? It's going to be difficult. What role you can play to shift the situation, right? And the big question you have to ask yourself, what is preventing me from leaving? That you have to ask yourself. You have to ask yourself, what is preventing you from leaving? What preventing you from leaving? I know some of you are the sole breadwinner. You can't just take up your work, you can't just take up your bag and leave because some asshole at work true behaving like that with you. You can't. You have to suck it up. But as I said, always looking for a job, right? And some things where you have to wait to, right? Maybe what is preventing you from leaving It's because the person is unbearable, but at the same time, you get to work from home, right? That is another thing, right? You get to work from home. So that is a pro, right? What you have to do is set boundaries. How are you going to set boundaries? Take your lunch. You get 1 hour lunch or half an hour lunch. Take it. Don't sit at your desk and look at email when email come in or nothing like that. You take your break, go for a walk, clear your head. Go away from those people, right? That's so you're going to set work boundary. If you see that they are not nice to you, right? Is nothing you do is going to change that individual mind about you. Please know that. So you can't answer the email just when it come in like that. It's not going to make the person like you no more. So set boundaries. Protect yourself in the future. So when you get in a job, try to make sure that you learn about the environment and the culture before you run go take the job. Right? Talk to the boss, talk to them, right? So if you have a job, before you leave all entirely, you maybe ask for 2 weeks, you ask for 1 month leave of absent or something like that and try out the job for that's the way you're gonna do. You're gonna protect yourself in the future, right? That's what you're gonna do. As me say, right? And the next thing you can do, as me say, you go see a counselor. Oh, yes, you can go see a counselor because these things are stressful. This will drive you crazy. This will drive you crazy, especially when you know, say, you have your family to support. If you have your family to support and then some asshole at work stressing you out, and you just can't take it, they are micromanaging you, right? You can't breathe. Every communication you have, it's very it's stressful. It's always corrective or negative in nature. Them just down on you. You can never do anything right, right? Them always saying that you're not meeting, you're not doing things right, right? They're accusing you all the time of not, yeah, right? But make sure that you are delivering and make sure that you are doing what you're saying you're supposed to do. Because some of us, we can't sit here, I can't sit here and tell you, oh, the boss is this and the employer that is stressing you out is this and that. But if you're not doing your job, you're not doing your job. You have to be honest with yourself. You have to check yourself too, right? Sometimes you need to get a third party, look at it and ask the third party, what do they think, right? Because sometimes when we're in it, we can't see clearly. And that is what you have to do, right? So you have to check yourself, regain yourself. Remember, health is wealth. If you have to lose the job and let the ship sink, it have to sink. Because if your mental health is at stake here, guys, you got to do what you got to do, right? If you have to leave the job, go upon social assistant. Some of us will not, some of us we can't go upon social assistant. Remember, when somebody is on your back, it's not your fault, right? It's not your fault. Consider your option, whether short-term or long-term option. Some of us, we can't just leave our job because of immigration purposes, because of financial, as I said, or because we are work remotely and we love it. We like to stay home and we can't find another job that work remotely. But we have an asshole boss, so we just love the job. We love to stay home, right? You love to stay home. Can you imagine if you weren't, if you were in the office dealing with that individual, right? Set boundaries. Tell yourself every morning you get up, listen to Joel Osteen before you deal with that individual. Set a positive mindset. When you're in a meeting, don't speak unless you're spoken to. Because nothing what you say, them want to hear you anyways. Them just a try draw you out. Right? Them a try draw you out. Remember, I'm going to leave you now because it's what? 34 minutes long. Remember, take notes. If you're going to take it further and you know, say, the people that must stress you out and you want to make sure that you protect yourself, take notes, thorough notes, right? Talk to an individual, talk to a counselor too. It's good because sometimes your psychologist can write a letter and say, well, you need to be off for 3 months and take a 3 months break, and then write you a letter and give you a 3 months break or something like that if you can't deal with it, if the stress is too much for you, right? Write down everything. Some things that you don't think is important is very much important. Any communication, if the person shout at you, scream at you, call your name, ask you what can I hear this, ask you some things where you don't even know is discrimination, write it down. Anytime them say anything to you, read your law, read the law of where you are at to figure out, yes, right? Because a lot of people try to do microaggression and treat you like talk down at you, especially if you're you're an immigrant, right? Or maybe you're a minority, like myself here in this country, right? So those are the things that you have to look forward to, right? You need to take action, right? You need to detail the information. And when Mr. Take action is that you go speak to the HR person and make sure it is in writing, right? You detail the information, right? And make them do it, right? And yeah, and you do not let up. You make sure you say I, if you're writing an email, be mindful of your email you're sending out. Look at the tone in the email, right? You talk about, you just make, you don't make, you don't say you this, you that, accuse not nobody, don't use any accusation, nothing like that. You ask for clarity if you don't understand. If the person will cuss you out, say, can you clarify or something like that? Be very polite, be the opposite of how they're treating you, right? You don't fight fire with fire. Although although the Bible say, if you chop off, where it go? If you chop off one and you chop off, I don't remember where it go. Whatever. Anyways, yes. Remember, in the workplace, physical abuse is zero tolerance. Hitting, swearing, punching, poking, right? Sexual assault, zero tolerance. Teasing, right? People gang up on you, right? It's not tolerated. Go to HR. And that's where I leave you. Anyhow, guys, if you like this video and you want to hear more about it, yes, I do have a HR degree. I do. Yes, me have some sense. Me know what I'm talking about. So please do hit the thumbs up for this, this video. Or if you have any questions you want me to answer, I'll try to answer it, right? We all have a boss that we don't like at one point in time. Or maybe we're lucky. We have a beautiful boss, because I'm knowing, thumbs up to all the beautiful bosses out there. Because I know you have people who are great, right? They want to see you achieve things, right? They want the company to grow, because if them treat you well, you will do more for the company. And that's what them don't know, right? You will go out of your way for that company. It's not about money. I mean, yes, you want compensation, but if you're in an environment that is nice and treat you with respect, you would want to do more for that company. Unfortunately, that is not the case for all of us. Sometimes we in our environment, we only go to the job just because we want to make sure that Friday comes. Like today is Friday. We're glad we are off. Anyhow, guys, please subscribe to my channel, and I will see you in my next video. Mwah.